Okay, I have two questions in here. The first question, I understand when eyes interact with visual objects, eye consciousness arises. What arises when mind interacts with everything which you mentioned in the lecture? Depends on what mind you have at that time. If your mind is a mind without attention, you didn't know what I was talking about. Your body may be there, but your mind is not there. Even if your body is there, your mind is there. Maybe you're not focusing on it, and you don't understand what I'm talking about. So, where is your mind? Depends on what kind of consciousness arises in you. If at a time when I'm talking about, say, who am I, you really focus and you really apply a lot of thinking on it, and you say, oh, this is, the mind actually worked that way, consciousnesses arise like that, then that knowledge will get into your mind. Because you're open. You're open to receive it, you're open to think about it and ponder about it. However, there are some people who may not think the same way. I don't think so. This is what I don't believe in that. Some people are like that. It depends on what kind of mental attitude you have at the time when I'm talking or the lectures. So it depends on what kind of mental functions are you using in your mind. There are general mental functions, and there are specific mental functions too. If I want to get in a little bit more detail. General mental function is, did you pay attention? You've been paying attention. If you didn't pay attention, you didn't know what I was talking about, it's not in your mind. Your mind is outside, it's not in here. If you're really focusing on it, and at the same time, if you are creating specific mental functions, what are these specific functions? When you're looking at it, then say, oh, that's interesting. I want to research more into it. That's another mental function. And then, oh, this is what I heard when I was at school. The teacher was talking about that, and it ties in with what the teacher was talking about, so it goes back to your memory. And then another mental function would come up. I really want to get to know more about this. Maybe I should research more in it. Another mental function come up. It depends on you. Don't ask me what kind of consciousness is created. You create your own consciousness. I can't create it for you. But I know that if you really pay attention, even if you are neutral, if you may be rejecting it, you may be positive about it, you may be negative about it, it's your own mental attitude. Some people listen with open mind, some people with a closed mind, some people with a biased view, and some people may even think that that's a biased view of the Buddha, that's a biased view of you yourself. I mean, so many possibilities. You know what arises when the mind interacts with everything that I've been talking about. Generally, when your mind interacts with the outside world, this is how your mind works. You have general mental functions, specific mental functions, and at the same time, there are many other favorable and unfavorable mental functions too. Let's talk about the favorable ones. You could be more receptive. When you listen to it, you say, oh yeah, I shouldn't be greedy. I shouldn't be angry. I shouldn't have jealousy. Then you may have favorable mental functions working in you to support what you receive through the lecture positively. You may be unfavorable, or maybe unfavorable when you're interacting with the outside world. You could be greedy at the same time when you are interacting with your consciousness arises, consciousness of greediness, consciousness of jealousy, hatred, anger, I don't know. So many of these functions, mental functions arise. And sometimes it's you whether you pay attention to your mental functions. Some people really pay attention to mental functions. Maybe, give an example, Christmas is coming up, I'm going to get a Christmas gift for my friend, for my boyfriend or for my girlfriend, and I'm going to buy a valuable gift. And then you went to the shop and you look around and you saw a watch, a beautiful jewelry watch, and then when you are examining the watch, you want to buy it, a few watches on the counter, and the salesman had a phone call, and he went to answer the phone, and then mental functions of greediness arise in you, and you stole it. And you somehow you lift it up and put it in your own pocket, and you walk out of the store. So it depends on what kind of mental functions you have at that time. So I can't tell you where. Where is the location of manas in your body that you mentioned that is carried from previous lives? If you have been listening to my lecture and you really absorb what I talk about, where is the location of that knowledge in your mind? You tell me. You absorb it yourself. You put it in your own mind. You should tell me where it is. Can you tell me where? Can you tell me what kind of information you just received? You saw me, right? You saw me, my image in here. Where's the location that is sitting in your mind? Can you tell me? That location is invisible. When you were meditating in here and you remember yesterday's certain occasion, you remember yesterday, you woke up, you just woke up a minute later. Tell me, where is the location of that image in your mind? You can't identify it, but you know it's there. You thought about it. You produce this thought in every second, and you tell me where is the location of that thought that you produces. You know you have such a thought. Tell me a location of that thought. Tell me the location of your anger in your mind. You originated anger from your mind. You tell me where the anger comes from. There's no such thing as location. It's just there. If I tell you the location is on the right side, 45 degrees to the left, and 10 degrees to the right, and it's a little lower than your glands, and you believe in it? It's not important where the location is, but you know it's there. You had jealousy. Where do you sit that jealousy in your mind? It's there. You project it into the future about next year's agenda. You write it down on a piece of paper, then you know where the location of that 2016 agenda, because it's written on your paper in your diary. Assuming you didn't write it down, where is that in your mind? If you dissect your brain, can you find out where that is in your mind? You can find it. It's nowhere to be found, but it's there. You can prove it scientifically, but it's there. Yes?
What is the Buddhism?
Creation of what?
Creation of the universe.
Oh, creation of the universe. This is a subject that many people would like to touch on, especially religions. This is a very controversial issue. And the Buddha said, the Buddha gave you a fable. And he said, if someone is at a crossroad, is standing at a crossroad, and an arrow shot into his body, boom. He was wounded, right? He fell on the ground, and an arrow was here, almost close to the heart, and he would die. And then someone came up to him, the first person. Oh, are you hurt? Is that arrow poisonous? He sort of find out how much poison that arrow contained. Another person said, where does the arrow comes from? Who shot it? He wanted to find out the location where it's shooting from. A third person comes and say, what is this arrow made up of? Is it wood? Is it stone? Is it metal? So they all want to find out what happened to this man. What happened to this man when he gets shot? He want to find out all these peripheral questions about the arrow, about the location, about the environments, about the externalities, that man would die. If you want to know the universe, the Buddha said, there's a lot of studies that you have to conduct, and you need wisdoms to analyze it. Now the urgency is to resolve this life first. Don't wait to see what that arrow is made up of, where does it come from, who shoot it, who is the culprit, who is the criminal who did that, and what is the motive behind this. When you study all that, the man is already dead. The first thing to do is rush him to the hospital and save him. Give him the remedy first, and then find out later where are these intricacies about all this, where the arrow comes from and all this later. Now that being said, it's a fable saying that our urgency is to get the remedy and practice and get away from this reincarnation, not to find out where the universe is. That's a long way to go. And then we still have to find out, we want to know a little bit about where the universe originates. When we say, where does this world begins? When we say there's a beginning, there must be an end. When we say the world has a beginning, then there must be an end. Otherwise, there's no such thing as beginning. When there's beginning, you're thinking that there's an end to it. But the law of the universe is there's no beginning, there's no end. This cup, if I asked you who created this cup, and you told me, the guy who made this pottery, he put all the clay together and used a machine to make this cup. He's the creator of this cup. And then the question comes, he is the creator, but who created this guy who made this? And where does the clay comes from? Who created clay? Who created this machine for making this cup? So that if you trace the origin of this creation, there's no end to it. You can't trace it because it's from a multiplicity of causes that make this happen. But we may mistakenly think that the guy who made this from clay is the creator of this cup. He isn't. He's just coming in the middle to create this. He's just one cause, one condition to make this cup come true. And also, even if he make this cup, there is still someone who sell this to you, who put it together, who bring it to you, and still you have to have money to buy this, and you get this cup. So talking about who created this cup, you can't trace it. Where does your body comes from? From your mom, from your dad. And where does your mom and dad come from? From their mom, from their dad. And where does this flower come from? This flower comes from a seed. Where does the seed come from? A seed from another seed. Then where does this first seed comes from? There's no such thing as first seed, because if there is a beginning, there's an end. So in other words, the Buddha said there's no life in death. Death is the beginning of another life in the temporal world. Only when you transcend the temporal world, then you get into nirvana. You would know the essence, the nature of this cup, only when you stop your temporal thinking. Stop your thinking of beginning and end, life and death, big and small, tall and short, rich and poor. Get rid of your discrimination. Get rid of the topsy-turvy, discriminating mind, and get into a mind that is pure of that thinking of beginning and end, creating universe. Where does the universe come from? Does it come from a blast, a black hole? And all those are only causes and conditions that make certain things come true. And right now what you need to do is you have to transcend your temporal thinking. Only when you transcend, get beyond temporal thinking, would you be able to get to the real Tathagata, the real nirvana. That's where the Buddhahood is. When you get into that Buddhahood, you know, or you automatically know the truth of the universe. You don't need to ask anybody. But right now what you need to do is, when you get shot when you get that arrow shot in your body, you need to pull it out first. You need to remedy. You need to go to the hospital first. You need to heal it first. Don't ask about where the arrow comes from. What is it made up of? Is it made up of stone, of wood, of metal? Is there any poison in the metal? Who shot that arrow? Why did the man happen to be there? Why did he get shot? There's a lot of other questions. If you ask too many questions, you're already dead. So the first thing, urgent thing to do is to, this is an analogy, to rush him to the hospital and save him first. The first thing to do is meditation. Clean up your mind. Purify your karma. When you get to that transcendence, transcendental nirvana, then you know where it comes from. You have to transcend your temporal thinking in order to have that thinking where you know what it is. You know, then where you know the truth. Actually, the truth cannot be thought about. The truth cannot be spoken about. Because whatever you thought about, you spoke about is from your discriminating mind. It's not from the true mind. Even when I'm talking to you now, it's not from my true mind. It's from my mind that may contain the wisdom of going over there, but I'm still using that temporal mind to tell you what it is. So finally, there's some Zen masters who said, we don't need language. We just need, they say, in the first place, body language. They communicate by mind, not by language. So if you ask me what it is, where it's come from, what is the first cause, what is the origination, we don't talk about it. There's no need to talk about it. Some people, some religion may say, it's easy to say, it's created by God. A very simple answer to a very complicated question. It is created by God. That's easy. That answers your questions, but it's not satisfactory. Where did God come from? Who created God? Who is this God? So, in a lot of cases, we try to avoid this controversial issue because people may not understand. When you reach the real truth, there's no thinking. There's no temporal discriminative thinking. There's no alaya consciousness. The alaya consciousness only contains the polluted thinking. You have to change your polluted thinking into a purity. When you get that purity, then there's no time and space. There's no beginning and end. There's no language. It's just a oneness. To some people, that may not be a satisfactory answer because they always want to look for something like God. It's God or Mr. A who created the world. It's easy to say. Mr. A created the world. And I'm a descendant from Mr. A. That's an easy answer. But the Buddha said, you know when you reach that level. But right now, you've got to practice and get out from suffering first. Get out from reincarnation, life and death. Then you know. It's just like when the kindergarten asked the professor, what is particle physics? The professor said, get into grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4 first. Because particle physics, even if the professor explained it, he wouldn't be able to understand particle physics. A kindergarten is asking, what is particle physics? He has no need to ask it. He just goes through the curriculum. And once he gets into university, he already knows. The kindergarten say, no, I want to know it. Even if the Buddha talk about it, he may not understand it. Even the professor went ahead to explain particle physics, that kindergarten would not understand. So what's the point? He will get confused. And the Buddha said, okay, go to grade 1 first. Learn your language. You go step by step and step by step. And then when you get to university, you know particle physics. Particle physics is waiting for you. It's there. But you have to do it step by step. Any more question? Yes?
What would be the first step?
Huh?
What would be my first step?
The first step is to understand yourself. How you interact with the world. How do you think? Understand about karma. Understand about how to live a happy life. Understand about how not to build up bad karma. Because we are an accumulation of bad karma in us. We have been killing, stealing, we've been doing a lot of bad karma, and that pulled us down to where we are today. What you encounter is what you have done in the past, not God. You created your own world. The past you have done, you can't change it. You cannot change the past. But right now, the present is in your hand. You can change your present. Don't agonize on your past. It's gone. Change your present. Do it now. You don't need to wait. That's how you do it. Change your present. Be here and now and purify your karma. Don't involve in the bad karma where you steal, you kill, you're on drugs, you are doing all kinds of bad karma. And those bad karma, once you perform them, they will pull you down. The karmic energy will pull you down, will give you bad, destiny, what do you call it? Bad consequences. Try to avoid involving with bad karma. Purify your karma, doing only good karma. And then you're on your way to enlightenment, to enlighten yourself. You have to walk that yourself. You have to do your walking. Don't rely on Buddha to do it for you. The Buddha gave you the map. You follow that map and go to that destination. But first, you got to learn about the map. How do you read the map? How do you see the map? You got to find the right track to the destination. Right now, the Buddha gave you the map. Did you take the efforts in following it, reading about it, knowing about it? Or you don't care, you still go astray. You just go wherever you want to go, you never get there. Get that map and walk that path, the path of enlightenment, the path of nirvana. And that has many methods to it. That map contains not only a location, methods of getting there, the ways of getting there.